What if I told you that every time you scroll, tweet, or double tap a post, you're actually proving Freud was right? Let's dive into how one of history's most controversial thinkers accidentally predicted our digital reality. Imagine if Sigmund Freud had access to your social media feed. Would he scroll endlessly, analyzing your likes and shares? Or would he warn us that the biggest psychological experiment in history is happening right now, and with the test subjects? Freud spent his life uncovering the unconscious forces that drive human behavior. But in today's world, it's not just our subconscious controlling us. It's algorithms. The question is, who understands us better, Freud or the algorithm? Freud introduced concepts like the ID, ego, and superego, forces battling for control inside our minds. But what if I told you that social media platforms operate the exact same way? Let's break it down. The ID, the impulsive, pleasure-seeking part of our psyche. On social media, it's the part of you that doom scrolls for hours or impulsively clicks on clickbait headlines. It craves instant gratification, no matter the cost. The ego, the rational self. This is the part of you that carefully curates your digital persona. You filter your photos, craft the perfect caption, and post selectively to maintain a desirable image. It balances the ID's urges with a dash of self-awareness. Finally, the superego, the moral compass. On social media, this is where the lines between justice and judgment blur. It's the self-righteousness of cancel culture, the performance of virtue signaling, and the constant pursuit of social approval or disapproval. Freud believed that deep down, we are driven by unseen desires. The social media algorithm? It's designed to expose and exploit those desires. The more time you spend, the more data it collects. The more data it collects, the better it gets at predicting what triggers your ID, satisfies your ego, or feeds your superego. The result? You keep coming back. That quick dopamine hit from a like or a comment keeps you scrolling. But just like Freud's model, this constant battle for validation creates internal conflict. When you post, the ID wants instant attention. The ego seeks admiration. The superego judges you and others harshly. The algorithm? It watches silently, calculating which force will win next. Think about it. When you delete a post because it didn't get enough likes, is that your ego protecting your image? When you engage in a heated debate over politics, is that your superego enforcing your moral stance? And when you impulsively binge-watch TikTok videos at 2 a.m., is that your ID seeking pleasure? Freud once said, most people do not really want freedom because freedom involves responsibility. On social media, freedom is an illusion. You're not entirely in control. You're being subtly guided. Your ID craves the instant hit. Your ego feeds on validation, and your superego thrives on moral superiority. The algorithm? It simply sits back and profits from the battle. So the next time you pick up your phone, ask yourself, who's really in control? The ID, the ego, the superego, or the algorithm pulling the strings? After all, Freud studied the unconscious mind, but social media, it profits from it. Freud's theory of repression suggests that we push uncomfortable truths deep into our subconscious. But today, algorithms act as both the vault and the key. Ever search for something embarrassing, say, how to stop procrastinating, only to find yourself bombarded with productivity tips mixed with endless time-wasting content instead? It's no accident. The algorithm exploits your vulnerability. It recognizes your fleeting moment of self-improvement and hijacks it with pleasurable distractions. The very thing you wanted to avoid, wasting time, becomes a trap you fall into. Freud warned of the dangers of addiction to pleasure, but never could have predicted a machine capable of delivering endless dopamine at the swipe of a finger. Each like, each comment, and each notification is a carefully designed variable reward, keeping you hooked. Studies show that social media addiction triggers the same neural pathways as gambling. The intermittent rewards of likes and comments create a psychological slot machine, pulling you back in over and over. And it's not just the addiction to pleasure, it's the repression of discomfort. Social media offers an easy escape from stress, boredom, or self-doubt. Instead of sitting with those feelings, we bury them beneath a flood of distractions. Freud believed that repression came at a cost. The more you push something down, the more power it gains. The algorithm, however, doesn't let you forget. It tracks your fears, desires, and guilty pleasures. That one late-night search for signs of burnout guarantees you'll wake up to a feed filled with self-care ads and quick-fix wellness tips. It exploits your moments of weakness for profit. Even when you think you're in control, the algorithm remembers. It doesn't just show you what you want. It shows you what you can't resist. And it knows you better than you know yourself. So the next time you mindlessly pick up your phone to just check one thing, ask yourself, are you seeking pleasure or are you running from something? Because on social media, the algorithm doesn't care. It will give you both, rewards and repression, until you lose track of which is which. Freud believed that what we repress shapes us. The algorithm, it just cashes in on it. Freudian slips, accidental reveals of our true desires, used to happen in conversation. Today, they happen in text, tweets, and autocorrect fails. The internet never forgets, and in a way, neither does the subconscious. Freud might argue that our most deleted tweets reveal the most about who we really are. Freud's most controversial theory, the Oedipus complex, suggested we have subconscious attachments to authority figures. Today, that's not just about parents. It's about influencers, celebrities, and billionaires. We're drawn to these figures not just because of admiration, but because deep down, Freud might say we're psychologically wired to seek authority figures to emulate or rebel against. So, who understands human nature better? Freud, with his theories of unconscious desires, or the algorithm, which doesn't just analyze us, it shapes us? Freud wanted to help us understand ourselves. Algorithms don't just understand us, they control us. The question is, are we okay with that? What do you think? Do algorithms really understand us better than Freud ever could? Let's debate in the comments.